A young man, who was a prince, proposed to a girl, asking her to be his queen. She accepted with love and excitement. Little did they know, a woman was watching their love story unfold on her phone. As the video ended, she celebrated her victory in a game. However, she soon felt exhausted at work and regretted staying up all night playing. Since it was Friday, she hoped to get through the workday quickly and enjoy the weekend. Unfortunately, her junior colleague asked her to complete a report that was due earlier in the week. Feeling frustrated about having to work on her weekend, she finished work late at night and left the office. She wore headphones while walking on the road, which was a good excuse for our Van Kuyen to come out of and struck her, causing her consciousness to fade away. When she regained consciousness, she found herself in a different place and her body felt heavy. She heard a voice and new memories flooded her mind. She turned to see the prince from the game screen, Prince Edward, who confronted her about her mistreatment of a girl named Yuri. Astonished, she realized that she had been reincarnated as the villainess Iris Lana Armelia from the game. In this game, Yuri was the protagonist, and Iris was the character who bullied her. The task for Yuri was to make the 4 male targets to fall in love with her. Among the 4 targets, one was the second Prince Edward, who was Villainous' fiancé, second was the son of the Knight Commander, Dorson. Third was Villainous' brother, Byrne, who was the son of the Duke, who was also the Prime Minister of the country, and finally the 4th person was the grandson of the Pope. She was confused, but decided to solve the situation at hand first. Determined to change the story's outcome, she resolved to act differently than in the game. As she tried to stand up, someone grabbed her neck and forced her down. In pain, she pleaded with Dorson, one of the male targets in the game, to release her. He refused. But she reminded him that he was the son of a knight commander who vowed to protect the weak. Another male target, her brother Byrne, mocked her as she spoke. Iris admitted her wrongdoing and asked them not to waste time confirming it. Prince Edward was taken aback by her confession and asked why she had behaved that way. She hinted at how Yuri had seduced Edward and caused him to break off their engagement. Thanking everyone present, she bid farewell, believing it was her last day at the academy. Due to the accusations against her and the male leads, she would never be allowed to return. She said farewell and prepared to leave, but Edward stopped her. He asked her to apologize to Yuri. Iris refused to do that as it would hurt her pride. Even if today's acts bring her to her own destruction, she refused to apologize. She shed tears and explained to her ex-fiancé Edward that there was nothing to take up from her other than her pride. She left after declaring that, and boarded a waiting carriage, saying goodbye to the academy. She felt her memories from her previous life in Japan and her life as Iris mixing together. Iris Lana Armelia, the daughter of the Duke, whose lineage was second only to the royal family. According to the story, after Iris's engagement had been annulled, she would face house arrest upon reaching her home and would be confined in the church for the rest of her life to live as nun. As the academy farce was over, and she knew she had to deal with her father to avoid a dire fate. At home, she rested in her room, waiting for her father's arrival. A maid named Tanya barged in, and Iris calmly informed her that she had returned. Surprised by her calmness, Tanya asked how Iris could be so composed. Iris advised Tanya to calm down. As Tanya managed to calm down, she apologized for her previous behavior. Tanya mentioned that the Duke would return later that evening. Iris asked Tanya to make tea while they waited. As Iris sipped her tea, she expressed gratitude to Tanya for her service. Tanya insisted that it was unnecessary as Iris was her master, not the Duke. Iris lamented Prince Edward's betrayal and accused him of being in the wrong. Tanya assured Iris that she would always stand by her side. While Iris appreciated Tanya's loyalty, she encouraged her to seek her own happiness. Iris was willing to relieve Tanya of her duties to free her from a stifling environment. However, Tanya firmly refused, sharing her own flashback of how Iris had saved her from the slums. Tanya was prepared to remain by Iris's side until death. This touched Iris, and she asked Tanya to consider her offer, but Tanya declined, mentioning other children whom Iris had saved felt the same way. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. A maid entered with news that the Duke had returned and requested Iris's presence in his office. Iris was surprised, as her father usually returned late at night. The maid assured her that the Duke had come back early specifically for Iris's matters. She spoke in support of Iris and advised her to face the Duke confidently. As Iris reached the office, she asked the maids to wait outside and entered the room to meet her father. Iris apologized for taking up her father's time, and the Duke expressed his relief that she understood the commotion she had caused. Iris insisted that she hadn't troubled her father or the Prime Minister, who was also the Duke. Confused, the Duke asked how she could say that. Iris explained that she had only engaged in verbal harassment, which had no strong evidence against her. She also mentioned that Prince Edward had annulled their engagement without consulting her, making her the victim. She had made her case clear at the academy, leaving no room for her enemies to escalate the situation. Despite Prince Edward's fuss, Iris believed she would only receive a light reprimand that her father's authority could easily resolve. The Duke had already heard about everything that had happened at the academy. Iris reminded him that he had initially opposed her engagement to Edward because it would create a power split, with her family backing the second prince. This could lead to a divided kingdom. Then the Duke asked her why she thinks that he allowed the engagement when there were no benefits. Iris replied that her father was expecting that outcome. The Kingdom of Tasmeria has many political factions. The first prince was born to the official queen, where the second prince was born to the only concubine. In the game, the second prince becomes the king in the end, but in reality things weren't that simple. The queen was from the Earl family, which was powerless compared to the concubine's family marquis. However, the king pushed through the protests and made the Earl's daughter his official wife. Since then the noble society has existed in a delicate balance. When the Duke asked her to explain it further, she explained that if she had married the first prince, then the Duke would have made Byrne to work for the first prince too, to solidify his ascension. However, if she married the second prince, the Duke would still make Byrne work for the first prince and have Iris to keep the second prince in check. But letting her marry the first prince was the best choice with less risk, but now that Byrne had joined the second prince group, she was sure that her father wanted the engagement to be annulled. The Duke laughed at her answer and admitted that it had been his intention. He had repeatedly told Byrne to distance himself from the second prince, but was frustrated that his son had become part of the prince's entourage. He asked Iris if she was okay with the outcome, considering her previous feelings for the second prince. Iris compared her former love to an illness that had faded with time. The Duke had to punish her for her actions at the academy. This issue could be resolved easily with his authority, but with his son involved there's a chance that the house would be split into two. She was nervous as she didn't know what kind of punishment her father would give her. He decided to confine her in their territory, which was away from the capital, and granted her the position of acting fief lord, the second highest authority after the Duke. Iris was surprised by this appointment since it was typically given to the eldest son. The Duke explained that Byrne wouldn't go to the territory as he was also suffering from the same sickness Iris had experienced. Iris accepted the position and vowed to ensure the survival of their domain, regardless of any challenges that might arise within the imperial family. Iris left, and Duke reminisced about the past decade. Iris entered his room with his permission and they discussed her birthday gift. She expressed her desire to help those in need, as her parents had taught her, and mentioned a girl she had found collapsed on her way. The girl turned out to be Tanya, the maid. The Duchess Mirellis then entered the room and asked the Duke not to send Iris to the nunnery. The Duke revealed his decision to make Iris the fief lord, shocking the Duchess. He explained that Iris had convinced him and that she had changed from her past mistakes. The Duchess was worried about Iris's lack of control and how she would manage the territory. She mentioned that the Baron's daughter was publicly cruel to her as she blamed it all on her daughter. Iris was used as a scapegoat for all the noble children who bullied Yuri. A Baron's daughter, and they were actually discreet about it, and Iris ended up taking the whole blame. Mirellis wondered how much of the mistake Oris did out of all the accusations. The Duke defended Iris, saying she had learned from her past and understood her responsibilities. However, the Duchess believed that Iris didn't realize the Duke's true intentions. After Iris got engaged to the second prince, the Duke became deeply involved and couldn't stay neutral. He accepted that he was just a doting father and wanted to protect Iris from being dragged into the struggle for the throne. But he realized he couldn't do it alone anymore. After arriving at the territory, Tanya knocked on the door and was surprised to not hear any response. She rushed inside to only see Iris sitting in a weird manner wearing light clothes. Iris explained that she was exercising for her health and had chosen comfortable clothes. Tanya was surprised with her actions, and Iris explained that she had learned about it from a book and asked Tanya to not worry about it as Iris was planning to do that every day. She asked Tanya to prepare her meals and a bath. After breakfast, Iris found the reason for her chubby structure as the food was really delicious. Iris asked Tanya to book an appointment with Sebastian, the head butler, who was managing the territory in the Duke's absence. She wanted to discuss her future plans. Iris and Sebastian met and exchanged pleasantries. Iris requested a report on the territory's income and expenses for the past 3 years, as well as the current state of public administration. Sebastian agreed and asked about her plans. Iris explained that she wanted to read the documents herself since she didn't know much about the territory, and she needed time for investigation. Sebastian mentioned that they needed a week to prepare, but Iris insisted on going undercover and preparing the people herself. Sebastian excused himself, and Iris asked him to speak his mind in the future as she would rely on him. Iris then called Tanya, Lyle, Dida, and Reem, the people she had saved from the slums. They greeted each other, and Iris considered them as her family. They were also the people she saved from the slums. Seeing Dida using the casual tone, Lyle shouted at him to act decently. Iris asked Lyle to not bother it as she preferred it like that when there was no one around. She considered them as a family. There were also other children like Say, who was working as an assistant to Sebastian, the cook Merida, who were living in their territory, and Moneda was working in the merchant guild as vice chief in Port Town. She asked Lyle to calm down and explain to them that she was there because Edward cancelled their engagement. The 3 of them expressed their concerns, and Iris laughed at that. She accepted their concern and asked them not to worry as it was already a fact, and she really liked to live in the territory with all of them. As the newly appointed fief lord, she wanted to inspect the territory and asked them to accompany her. Lyle and Dida agreed, while Reem expressed her concerns about why she was asked to accompany them. Iris explained that Reem's knowledge would be helpful as she had read all the books in the library about their territory's land history and geography. She wanted to know the background of the land she wanted to inspect. Iris asked them to prepare in 2 days and communicate with Tanya for any needs. She also instructed Lyle to book an appointment with Moneda at the end of their inspection at Port Town. After explaining everything, Iris dismissed everyone. Tanya reminisced about how she met Iris 10 years ago when she was an orphan stealing food to survive. She felt that she would die like that, but Iris found her and brought her to the mansion and tended to her. Tanya became Iris's maid. She had witnessed her happiness during her engagement with Prince Edward. However, things changed when Iris returned to the mansion with a sad face after the engagement was cancelled. Tanya couldn't forgive Yuri Neuer, who was responsible for it. But she was glad to see Iris recover and work hard. Tanya swore to protect Iris and brewed tea for her, happy to see her smile again. As they prepared to depart, they traveled to various places for inspection. Tanya expressed her worries about Iris completing the investigation in just 2 days instead of a week. Iris assured her that she was all right. Iris thought about how her past experience working at a tax office helped her handle the financial aspects quickly. They planned to visit the southern part of the territory, where the tax income had decreased, and the eastern part, where it had increased. Iris observed the bustling city, considered the second capital of the country. It was a bustling city where people were moving continuously and the streets were crowded. During their travels, Iris discovered a newly formed slum and asked Reem about it. Reem reluctantly revealed the truth. That was the newly formed slums, which included mostly people who couldn't pay taxes, and most of the time the second and third-born children would be abandoned there. Iris asked Reem when the last time the tax rates were changed. Reem replied that it was 5 generations ago. Iris was frustrated that the tax system became static. She was worried about poverty and determined to change it. They continued their inspection, encountering various problems in the eastern cities and villages. In one village, they found that crops couldn't grow properly due to the hot temperature, causing a heavy tax burden. Iris decided to talk to the village chief about finding alternative sources of income. The village chief welcomed them and Iris inquired about the lack of young men in the village. She discovered that most of them had left to become soldiers due to a lack of opportunities. Iris also learned that occasional beast attacks occurred, which results in casualties. The national military had to take care of it, and it seemed their reach didn't extend as far to small villages like. As Iris explored the village, she realized it needed not only financial support but also a school, hospital, and manpower. It seemed the village was abandoned and the fault truly fell upon the administrators. Lel interrupted her thinking and asked her if she was willing to check the forest nearby as it contains various new kinds of fruits. Iris decided to join the fray. They found various new types of plants and fruits there. Iris wondered why they couldn't transport it to the capital. Reem replied that the citizens in the capital were not familiar with those fruits, so there was no profit to be made. Daida mentioned that he would buy it because he didn't see it before, where Tanya countered that he would only be the weird person who would do that. Daida found a new type of fruit and asked Reem about it. Iris was surprised at the discovery of cocoa fruit and complimented Daida. Iris saw an opportunity for the village and bought a cart of cocoa fruits, asking the village chief to sell them in the future. As they left the village, Reem asked why Iris bought unpopular fruits. Iris confidently replied that she had a plan. Finally, they reached the port town. Engaged in bustling activities and made purchases. Iris attempted to explore a corridor but was stopped by Lyle due to its danger. As they left the town, Reem realized that reality differed from what she had read in books. The day ended with a view of the sea. At night, Iris came out of the room and sat out. Daida cautioned her to not roam outside as it was not a mansion. They discussed and Daida discussed his past, where he worked as an errand boy for gangsters. Sometimes, the children who were with him would disappear, but he had no choice but to stay there, as escaping meant death until Iris saved him. As Iris went to rest, Tanya came with hot water and talked with Daida. They had their own talk about their past and how they were indebted to the princess, but you could notice that Tanya and Daida were developing a noticeable chemistry while talking. The next day, Iris met with Moneda, the vice chief of the Merchant Association. She asked him how things were going in the guild, and he said they were doing well. Iris asked how they were making profits when their trade had reduced in the capital. Moneda twitched at that. Iris asked him to not show it in his face, that obviously. Frustrated, Moneda asked for her purpose in visiting him. Iris proposed the idea of him handling a large amount of money. Moneda thought she wanted to recruit him for the Duke household, but Iris clarified that he would be working under the fief government. She explained that there would be reforms in their territory and they needed someone trustworthy like him to handle the funds. Moneda asked if Iris had the authority to promise such things. And she showed him the letter appointing her as the fief lord, shocking him. Moneda asked for 3 days to hand over his duties and agreed to meet Iris at the mansion. As Iris left the merchant guild, Moneda thought about how she had changed. He was grateful to her for helping him. But he kept his private matters separate. He noticed that Iris had changed, but he was looking forward to the future. At the mansion, Iris was working on documents with Say's help. Say was acting strange, trying to imitate Sebastian, as he would become the future butler. Iris told him to relax and be himself. Iris later discussed Say with Sebastian, who believed Say had the ability to be a head butler. Iris gathered her people and began reporting the results of her inspection. She realized their territory was prosperous but needed improvement. The rich were getting richer while the poor were getting poorer. The lack of new goods made the market stagnant. Iris wanted to improve the lives of their people and create a better territory for future generations. Everyone understood and agreed with her goal. They planned to develop the territory over the years, starting with improving the quality of life. They would use funds from the ducal house, establish a bank, centralize government affairs, reform the taxation system, maintain the roads, and provide compulsory education. Say raised his hand and asked about the bank, and Iris apologized as she had forgot and promised to explain later after discussing it with Sebastian and Moneda. For banking to work, she planned to separate tax funds from the family expenses. Moneda deduced that the tax money would be used for the fief administration. But he wondered how the funds would be gathered to manage the house. Iris explained that she planned to open a business. Moneda was shocked to hear that and he asked her to reconsider her opinion as business was not an easy matter. She asked not to worry and revealed the cocoa fruit they got from the forest during their inspection, and told them that she decided to do business with that. Moneda took the fruit and said that he had heard of it as some people in the south would grind it into a paste to drink, but it was too bitter. Iris was happy to hear his opinion. She then opened the door and Merida, the skiller chef who was one of their companions, came with a lot of dishes. Merida was the one who managed to follow up Iris' crazy ideas and developed many recipes based on that. As others tasted it, everyone exclaimed at its taste. Iris felt that it was lacking compared to the taste in her past life, but it was still the first chocolate in this world. Moneda understood that most of it was created from using cocoa. Moneda recognized its potential and agreed to help. They planned to make it an expensive food and potentially targeting the nobles. With a little marketing, Moneda was sure that the business would go well. Iris asked Say to deal with the sales and management, but Say believed Moneda to be the best option. Iris denied that as she explained that Say had experience with the nobles so it would be easy for him. Say agreed to it and said that he would do his best. Iris asked Sebastian to handle contracts with the village supplying the cacao beans, while Ryle and Dida would manage transportation and logistics. Instructed Merida, a skilled cook, to create more chocolate snacks for trials. Iris planned to involve her mother in advertising the product as there was no one as popular as her in the noble circle. She asked Moneda to establish a firm with Say and find a place for production. Reem, the knowledgeable companion, would assist with pricing and market research. With the tasks assigned, Iris urged them to seek her advice if needed. Finally, a conglomerate called Azura Conglomerate was established. And that's how the continent's best merchant corporation was born. Subscribe to stay updated on upcoming battles, politics, and the competition for the throne between the first and second prince. Discover the important role Iris will play in this exciting story.